Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Toubab Krewe Origin Story.
How are we doing today, Luke?
Doing good. How about y'all? Hi Amanda.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Where are y'all based or um joining from?
I'm outside of Baltimore in a place called Sykesville.
Cool.
Yep. And I live in Denver. I'm from the East Coast originally, but have been out here for 6, 7 years now.
Cool. How's it been?
Love it. I mean, I moved out here in large part because of the music scene, and so does not disappoint.
Oh, that's great. I know. I love it. We love coming out there.
Definitely.
I've been
Yep.
coming for years. I'm in New Orleans. Been here since 2014. And yeah, Drew and Justin Perkins are a core and Camille Ngoni player. They're both in Asheville. And Our bassist Justin Kimmel is in Brooklyn. He's been there for years. And Terrence Houston, our drummer, is also here in New Orleans,
A
playing.
big name. He's in all kinds of. He's got himself and his sticks everywhere, so to speak.
I know. Yeah, he's out on like I don't know. It looks like like a 3 week run with George right now.
Yep,
Kind of all
fantastic.
over, and then doing some opening stuff for Funkadelic. So he's had to miss a couple gigs. We've had our buddy Tim Kuiper joined us for Vancouver Folk Festival last weekend, and he's a great player. He played with Vieux Farcatori for years and Madashahu for a long time, Salif Keita, and then most recently like was on the David Byrne musical for like the last 5 or 6 years. So we hadn't played with him in a while because he was just doing the American Utopia thing with on Broadway and then touring it, and then yeah, we just have him on a number of gigs this summer, maybe four or so that Terrence had to miss. So that's been a treat. We had a good time in Vancouver, and we actually had a festival canceled. Cabot got hit pretty hard, got hit really hard. Montpelier even harder by all the flooding. So Jerry Jam was supposed to happen last weekend and then got canceled due to the flooding. And the cool thing was it was going to happen on our original bass player's land, Dave Pransky, his family's land in Cabot. He was renting the property and doing the fest with Jerry Jam. So we were going to do a bunch of music together. He was going to sit in and stuff, and his wife's a singer, and we were going to do a bunch of tunes. So it was a bummer. We had like 36 hours in Boston before our direct flight to Vancouver, but yeah, I mean, shout out to everyone in Vermont. That's been like a pretty home base for us for years, playing there all so many times. So love everybody there. And
There's grumblings of a fish show the weekend before Dick's as a benefit for Vermont.
oh, cool.
It's back, but
Okay.
you know how those hippies are. They run around talking crap all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But a lot of stuff ends up usually happening for the
It
better.
does. It does. All right. So you're from North Carolina originally.
No, I'm from New Rochelle, New York, originally,
Okay. So how
and
did you end up in North Carolina with these guys? Because the band's based in Asheville, sort of,
yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely. We started the band there. Our three of the members grew up there. Justin Perkins, who plays Cora and Camille Ngoni, Drew Heller, who plays electric guitar and keys and some other things on albums, and Teal Brown, our original drummer. They grew up in Asheville together. Justin and Drew started playing together, and they've been friends since they were 5 or 6 years old. And had bands all through middle school, high school. Put out a couple records as this band Count Clovis out of Asheville as a trio, and then I met them. I went to school at Warren Wilson College, which is based there, um, and just east of Asheville. And we met college years and kind of coalesced around this interest in West African music. They had been listening, kind of had discovered a bunch of recordings in high school years, and then for me it was like pretty much in the time between high school and getting to college that I started to discover djembe music and djembe ensemble music. So pretty much got to Warren Wilson. There was a drum group on campus, and then met Teal through the drum group, started playing together. By the time it was like sophomore year, we traveled to Conakry, Guinea for a month with our friend Greg Pratt to live with a teacher there, Kumana Konde, the director of Percussions of Guinea, one of the national ensembles in Guinea, which is kind of a big thing. Essentially, like our teachers were from the generation where um, uh, the music kind of came from the village and more traditional styles to the stage. There was like a big movement around culture in Guinea, specifically in other West African countries around the independence era, um, to bring that music and all that culture to the stage. All these national groups were created, Ballet Joliba and Ballets Africains, who's toured the world for like 50 years, and Percussions of Guinea. And then our teacher Kumana was from that, played in Joliba, and then started Percussions of Guinea as the director. And so we just lived at his house for months, studying music, and just kind of going to see music on the street, and really studying every day, and playing with his sons and hanging with his family. And yeah, it was like a kind of a thing, like, what, if we were passionate about it. I was like, if we're going to really learn this, like, let's go to the source. So it was a really an honor to be able to study with him and have the connections to kind of link with him, and then from him other teachers in West Africa over the years. But that's kind of the Asheville connection, meeting those guys around
I
this.
mean,
I don't know.
when I think of Asheville in North Carolina, I think a hotbed of traditional West African rhythms. I mean, that's the first thing that pops to my mind. Um, so how do you take that? You immersed yourself in it. You come back, you take a little rock, you take a little funk. How do you blend that into a cohesive sound?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it was a number of different trips. First, kind of studying it all from the traditional point of view, drumming, djembe ensemble mostly, along with the dance. We had a drum and dance group in college. So, like after we graduated, 2 years after that first trip, we Justin and Drew and myself and Teal were all on a trip with like 14 of us, drummers and dancers, doing more studying in Ivory Coast and then in Guinea. And I think that was the first time where we started to see like all these artists there, like totally in contemporary setups, pushing the envelope, and where like the traditional music was living side by side with all of this, like amplified, Western elements, drum set, electric bass, keys, vocals, all of this kind of like wedding band, quote unquote wedding band. It's like street music where there'll be djembe players and djembe ensemble stuff along with all the guitar, and then electrified kora, essentially. So that kind of was our introduction to it more of in a band context, and then that kind of led us to just more recordings, and just kind of just realizing all this Canada music, this Mande Canada music that djembe ensemble is a part of, but it extends to the jelly instruments, essentially. Jelly or griot essentially is like the word to describe like a culture bearer, like historian, musician. And in West Africa, there's families of musicians, Keita and Kande and Konde, and like there's so many different families of musicians where the music comes down through generations. And our teachers are like Lamine from like 30 generations of musicians. He's our kind of teacher and mentor that we met in Ivory Coast, and then kind of the real precursor, just to double back quickly, with the band starting was Drew and Justin's 4-month trip to Mali, to Bamako in 2004. After these trips, studying in a more contemporary context, they even saw it more like amplified and all this, kind of feedback and like bar rock, Alobi Chayare is one artist that folks can check out. Amazing guitar player and like rock and roll aesthetic, within kind of the West African, kind of realm. So I think that was the light bulb moment too. After this is going to '99 all the way to '04 at that point. And then when they came back, I remember getting an email from them saying we need to start a band. So I think they realized like, wow, like all the stuff we grew up with, rock and roll, the Appalachian music, all connects, obviously, because so much of it is Black music from the South. You know what I mean? And essentially these jelly instruments, which kora, balafon, and jelly and goni. Gelingoni and also the Camelingoni, which Justin plays, relates directly to like the banjo and uh, they reflected
It's
that.
like a harp kind of.
Yeah, they're both harps. So
Yeah.
one's a 21 string diatonic, which is one of the griot instruments, which is kind of in this line of instruments that, back in the day, folks, those cats were playing to royalty. So there's a whole praise singing aesthetic to it, which you'll see on the street. Like if you go to see music on the street, it's like there's a whole money kind of thing at weddings, people making it rain for the bride and groom and the whole thing. So, and the musicians so there's all that history, but then the Camelingoni ties in also with the Gelingoni as like the predecessor to the banjo and so much of the string music that we know that's become, American music. So I think
Fascinating.
those dots started to get connected as well, and so all of Drew and Justin's kind of Appalachian influences, they kind of, as you asked, like how do you kind of essentially write that music, and it was more, I guess, this whole process, that slowly like those influences started to, just, I guess there was nothing that we were like, oh, this can't be in it, that can't be in it. Our teacher Alameen at one point, told Drew, he's like, listen, you're not bound to the traditions in the way that I am. Like I came up in this is like my music. He's like, you guys have studied it and, you love it. And like, at some point, or not at some point, but, you can play from your heart. Like, what you hear, play it, like, so he really gave us confidence to like be creative and kind of have some creative license in that sense. By the time we started the band, around like writing, but even so, like for example, the first record, like 9 out of the 10 songs on that debut were all traditionals. One Hang Tan was like the one original on that record, and then it was our arrangements of traditionals. But so many great artists have like versions of those songs because they're part of like the canon and part of this amazing group of Monday songs, and then there's so much other stuff just in Mali alone, let alone West Africa in terms of styles and styling. So it's been a real process, It wasn't ever like an intentional thing. Let's just like mix some of this and some of that and try to come up with this new thing. It was just more like, as the kind of dots got connected for us and we were playing more in the style, it just became more fluid. The other influences, just kind of the rock and roll aesthetic, the other, Appalachian stuff being a part of it as we started to write more in the style, as we were playing more and more in the style, as we started the band and playing that traditional material, and it kind of grew from there.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.